best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And I'm pleased to give you this information. Low Overhead Country is in the studio. Well, the owner is anyway. I guess we couldn't fit the whole car lot in here. Ivan Struckel has joined us, ready, willing, and certainly more than able to be able to take any inquiries that you might direct our way. If you would like to get the price of a car or a truck or an SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, you call us, 478-3116, and I connect you with Ivan Struckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much for the introduction. And once again, we have a double format here. We are on 1370 Talk Radio, the oldest talk radio station in Pensacola. And we're also videotaping this for our TV subscribers out there. We're on cable and we're on satellite. So if you're watching this on TV, don't bother calling in. You can call the number on the bottom of your screen if you want to get a value. But if you want to join us on the show here on 1370 AM Talk Radio, it's 478-3116, 478-3116. And how we can help you is we can let you know what we feel that your car might be worth, not so much just based on book value, but also based on experience. At Frontier Motors, we appraise cars from 8:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And what we use, what I consider, I guess I call them what I consider the real values. And what I mean by that is it's sometimes the Kelley Blue Book or the Edmunds or the NADA are off of what really goes on in the car business. And a lot of times I can verify that by doing an NADA value. And this is the NADA book that I'm holding up right now, is a book that we have used in the car industry for years and years. And we specifically use it down here in the South, more so than in the North. Years ago, over 22 years ago, when I sold cars in Wisconsin, we used the Kelley Blue Book up there. Down here, we use the NADA. Unfortunately, this NADA book that I'm holding up is not available online. There is a version of it online, but it's not the same thing. Now, the reason I use this particular book is not to trick customers, so to speak. It is because that's what our bankers, our insurance companies, use in our industry. And that's very, very important, because if you're going to have a car totaled or if you're going to finance a car, you need to know what the NADA book value is, and we can help you out with that value. We also use the black wholesale guidebooks. The wholesale guidebooks are what goes on in the auctions, but even better than the black wholesale books, we actually get right into the auction reports. And if I know what a car is specifically selling for on a given day at the auction, I can add on a profit to that car, and I can say, here's what the car really is going to sell for, and that's why I call that the real value. Now, if the NADA book says that the retail on a particular car is $20,000, but the cars are running through the auction for about $15,000, then if the banker told you to pay $20,000, you'd be paying too much. Even though we'd love to make $5,000, unfortunately, in this competitive marketplace in the auto industry, that's not possible anymore. When I say anymore, I'm sure that used to be possible years before the internet. But right now, everything is so, I don't want to say complicated, but every car dealership has ways that they can get prices, and the way that they can give prices, the competitive nature out there is such that last year the average used car dealer barely squeaked out a $1,500 profit. And that profit had to also pay the overhead of the dealership, had to pay everything, insurance, payroll, and everything. So with the book value says it's worth $20,000 and they're selling for at the auction for $15,000, I would quote you somewhere between $17,000 and $17,500. Because you've got to pay the auction, you got to pay the shipping, you got to pay the buyer, and then you have to make a profit on top of that. So again, that $17,500 would be what I consider reality versus a $20,000 book value. There's a lot of things that we talk about on the show here. One of the things that we talk about, of course, is Frontier Motors, because this is the Frontier Motor Show. But it's not just about Frontier Motors and what we do different in the car industry to help people out that are going to be in the car market. It's also to let people know what's going on in the industry. And last week we talked about the Volkswagen fiasco, a little bit about the problems that they've had with the Volkswagen diesels, that they have been selling diesels for years and years that have not passed emissions, and there are going to be millions, actually billions of dollars of not only lawsuits but also fees levied by the government against Volkswagen. Their stock already has dropped in one day, dropped 20%. So Volkswagen has got their situation going on, and I'm sure, fortunately, the rest of the Volkswagen line is still doing very good. We also talk a little bit about, again, what's going on in the industry, what's new, what's improved. And one of the things that I have in automotive news is they have one of the articles that came in. They're talking about that right now the U.S. Industry's all-time light vehicle sales record of 17.4 million was set 15 years ago in the year 2000. This is the first time that we have a possibility of having the best new car sales year in record. And we have to beat that 17.4, and we're not on track. Right now we're on track of hitting about 17 million. But if the next 3 months are going to be awesome, it's going to be the best new car year they ever had. Now, why is that important to Frontier Motors being in the used car industry? Well, if nobody trades a used car in, we're out of business. Somebody's got to buy the new car. Now, I always urge it not to be you because of the depreciation that you have in the first year of ownership. I've got an article that was printed in, I believe it was in February. Let me look here. It was printed in April of 2015. And they really have put in writing what Frontier Motors has been talking about going on 20 years now. And this article says, how much does that new car lose? And it says that last year in 2014, the average transaction price of a new car, not the average list price, we're talking about after rebates, after incentives, after discounts, before taxes, the average selling price of a car was $34,000. According to Consumers Reports, and you can verify this by looking at the April edition, 2015, the first year depreciation is 27%, which equates to $9,180 depreciation in the first year. Now, to me, that's mind-boggling. So if you buy a new car in 2014, for whatever reason you don't like it, in 2015, you're going to lose almost $9,200 the first year. The second year, that depreciation is a total of 37%. So by the second year, it goes to $12,500. I'm going to fast forward to 4 years. 56% of the value of that new car that you buy today, 56% of it, which would be $19,000 depreciation in 4 years. And that's one of the reasons that we started Frontier Motors going on 20 years ago. We decided we don't want to get a franchise. I actually worked in the new car industry longer than I've worked in the used car industry, but it was very frustrating for me when I sold a new car. One of the cars that we sold was Cadillac. We sold Cadillacs, Jaguars, and Isuzu, and Pontiac, and those are the 4 vehicles that I was in charge of. And I was always embarrassed to sell a Cadillac, for example, and the customer would come back 6 months later and says, hey, I don't really like the car, or I want to upgrade. And you'd have to tell that customer how much of a loss they're taking on that car that's 6 months old or 12 months old, and I'm the one who sold it to them. So it was very embarrassing to me. So I really didn't like that at all. So we decided when we moved to Pensacola to open up a used car lot and offer what we consider the alternative to a new car. In other words, take advantage of that first year depreciation. And some of the cars that we have on the lot, even though we're a used car dealership, are very similar to brand new cars. An example would be a 2015 Altima that we have on the lot that has 400 miles on it. A 2015 Nissan Versa hatchback with 500 miles on it. A 14 Jeep Wrangler with 1,000 miles on it. A Buick Regal with 1,000 miles. A Nissan Quest with 1,000 miles. A Hyundai Elantra with 1,000 miles. A Mitsubishi Galant with 2,000 miles on it. A Chevy Impala with 2,700 miles on it. I can go on and on. We have over 150 cars on the lot that have less than 20,000 miles on them that are still under factory warranty. So that is what I would consider the alternative to a new car. And the reason I got off track a little bit because I'm talking about that this could be the best new car year ever. I'm hoping to get that. What a comeback from 6 or 7 years ago. An example would be 5 years ago in 2011, through September, or in September, they sold 1 million cars. This year, in September, they sold 1,400,000 cars. That's a huge increase, folks. The recession in the car business is over. I'm hoping the recession is over in your business also, whatever that might be. One of the things that we also talk about is winners and losers in the car business. And the winners right now for 9 months of 2015, that is an increase over last year, is Land Rover. I'm not really a fan of Land Rover. People always ask me about Land Rover. And the reason is that years ago, they were very problematic and very, very expensive to fix. And I really didn't even mind the fact that they were expensive to fix if they wouldn't break. But they broke a lot. Now, this was years ago. I'm happy to report the new Land Rovers. The reason the sales have increased so much is because the reliability is so much better. So now I'm going to get on the Land Rover bandwagon if you can afford one. And it shows based on their sales of an increase of 26%. Same thing with Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi is a sleeper. When you talk about Japanese cars, I have people coming in all the time and they say, hey, I want a Japanese product. Well, what do you want? Well, it's got to be a Honda, Toyota, or Nissan. They forget about the two sleepers, Mitsubishi and Mazda. Both of those cars depreciate more than the Honda, Toyota, and Nissan, but they're just as reliable. And one of the reasons that Mitsubishi went up 25% for the year is because they're a reliable car and they're less expensive than the Honda, Toyota, and Nissan. So if you're going to get one of those cars, check out the Mitsubishi and also check out the Mazda. Jeep, up 22%. Good for them. The Wrangler is pretty much sold out. Wrangler sales are on all-time high. Consumers Reports doesn't recommend the Wrangler, but I do. I love driving one. The reason that people buy them so much because they're fun to drive. Consumers Reports says they're top-heavy. They're not that safe. They're very noisy. They don't handle that good, and they get poor gas mileage. But can you imagine you go to the Jeep dealer and they got 4 in stock? The rest of them are all sold out. And we do at Frontier Motors, we do a great Wrangler business. Mini Cooper's up 14% and Subaru's up 14%. Good for Subaru. We've got Billy Anderson up here on Highway 29 selling brand new Subarus, and hopefully they're up 14% like they are nationally. Now, again, the reason I don't have a problem talking about new car dealerships is because we don't sell new cars. We sell the alternative. If you're going to buy a brand new Subaru, we urge you to go to Anderson Subaru. Where we come in is if we have a 14 or 15 on the lot, which we do, by the way, and what we're going to do is show you how much we can save you over the price of a new one. And if it's not a lot, Frontier Motors is the first one to say, go buy the new one. If it's only a couple $1,000s more, I'd buy the brand spanking new one. Why would you mess with one with 2,000 or 3,000 miles on for $2,000? But what if it's $4,000, $5,000, or $6,000 or more? Consumers Report says the first year depreciation is $9,100. So even if I mark that car up, that average, by the way, that's an average. Even if I mark that $9,100 appreciation, even if I made $3,000 on the car, you'd still save $6,100. What if I paid a little bit more money for your trade-in than the other dealer did? What if I paid $1,000 more for the trade-in? Now there's another $1,000. What if our fees are $500 less? Our taxes are going to be less because you're paying less for the car. So it all adds up. And the easiest way that I can tell a customer how to shop around is to tell the customer, don't worry about the list price. We always have people coming in and they compare the list price. An example would be, let's just say that I have a Lexus on the lot and it's an RX 350 and it's $40,000. And the customer will come in and say, I was just at the Lexus dealership. You're not that much below a brand new one. Let's say a brand new one's $44,000, ours is $40,000. A lot of people that buy a Lexus say for $4,000, I'll buy the brand new car. So I say, don't worry about the list price. Let me give you an out-the-door figure. Now that out-the-door figure is going to be one price. That's after your trade-in, after the taxes and fees. If you have a payoff on your car, we're going to add in the payoff, and we're going to circle that price. And I'm going to tell you, hypothetically, my out-the-door figure is $20,000 even. What that means is that there's no hidden costs. I had a customer the other day who was very upset because they went to a new car dealership, they got an out-the-door figure, and then they went back to buy the car, and the new car dealership said, well, that includes everything except for your tag transfer. Well, actually, it was a new tag. New tag was $450. Customer went bonkers because they did what I told them to do. to get a total out-the-door figure. Well, the dealer gave them the total. They included the taxes. They included the county tax. They included dock fee, but they didn't include the tag fee because that's something that you pay. Well, guess what? In the state of Florida, the dealership goes and does the tag work. So if a customer comes into me and says, I want an out-the-door figure, I'm going to include the tag.
We're going to pay it anyway.
You got to pay it.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to come in 30 days. I'm going to go buy that tag for you. 30 days later, you come in. I say, hey, by the way, you owe me $450. That customer would go ballistic. So we make sure that when we train you, so to speak, or coach you to get that out-the-door figure, that you make sure that everything's included. That the tag fee's included, the tire tax is included, the battery tax is included. All the taxes are included. It should only be one price. If my out-the-door price is $20,000, including everything, and they come in at $26,000, and my car's got 4,000 miles on it, I'm thinking for $6,000 savings, I'd buy that car with 4,000 miles on. As long as there's no issues. Now, just so you know, I won't buy the car if there's any issues. I won't buy a car that's a lemon law buyback, that's got flood damage, that's been in an accident, that's got paint work on it, that's been smoked in, that's got dings and scratches in it. I'm not going to buy that car because you're thinking about buying a brand new one. If I put one on the lot, even if it's got 4,000 miles on it, but it's kind of ratty, you're never going to buy it from me. So I make sure that when I buy that car, that it's going to pass your inspection. Of course, it's got to pass my inspection first. It has to pass the auction inspection, then my buyer's inspection, then our inspection, and then your inspection, and then whoever you want to get it inspected by. So there's 5 inspections before that car gets a thumbs up. And by the way, if I buy a car for you, which a lot of people come and say, Ivan, I want to buy this and this car, give me a price on it, and then go buy it from me. That's called our Locate program. I have about 50 customers right now that are in our Locate program that have come in and say, I don't want to mess around with this. I really hate buying cars. Why don't you just buy a car for me? And they give me the specifications of what they're looking for. At that point, I do the research on how much that car is going to run. I do the research how much I can give you for your trade-in. Then I give you that out-the-door figure. Then we make sure that if you're going to finance it, that you know what the payments are going to be, so there's not what we consider a payment shock, that you know the payments before we buy the car. The only thing we ask you to make sure that you've driven one. If I don't have one on the lot, we make sure that you go to the new car dealership, drive the car of your dreams that you want, and then I'll go ahead and locate you that one car that might be 6 months old with very low miles on at the appreciated price, if I don't already have it sitting there. We did that with a Lexus the other day. Customer came, they looked at our Lexus products. They wanted an RX 350. Well, we had a 14 and a 15, but it was out of their price bracket. So they said, Ivan, I really want a 13 because I think I can afford the 12 or the 13. Well, 4 days later, I bought him a 13. Subject to their inspection. Because people say, well, Ivan, how do I, you're going to buy a $30,000 car for me. You're going to do this on a handshake? I said, yeah. No signature? No signature. No deposit. No deposit. Just your word that as long as I come through with the vehicle, that you're going to take delivery of the vehicle. Now, if the vehicle doesn't pass inspection, there's no hard feelings.
So has that worked? Have you ever gotten burned? I mean,
yeah, I've gotten burned.
Except for me.
I've gotten burned. I told you last time, Don, we talked about the lady that I bought that ordered a T-Bird.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
She ordered a T-Bird. It had to be black and had to have less than 10,000 miles on it. I had that car sitting there in a week. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. One owner, clean history report, never smoked in. It even had the hardtop, which she didn't care about the hardtop, but it had the hardtop and the convertible soft top. She brought her husband in to look at the car. He says, I love it. He couldn't get in it. He was 6'4". He didn't fit. I lost the sale. So now we make sure that everybody sits in the car, everybody drives the car. I've had that happen once already too, Don. You asked me if ever backfires on me.
That was a small B on the word burn. They didn't try to defraud you. They didn't back out.
I've been burned though.
Oh yeah.
I've been burned where I call the customer up and we keep in touch with the customer every week, Don. And we tell the customer, by the way, please, the only thing I ask you to do, if you change your mind or buy a car, and you don't want to wait, just call us, text us, email us, but do it right away. I don't want to buy a car the same day you buy one. Consequently, last month, there were 2 customers. I called them, I got your car. Oh, darn it, Ivan. I forgot to call you. I bought one on Saturday. This is on Tuesday. So I consider that burned because we had a handshake agreement.
But the point is, in 19 years, it hasn't happened very often.
Not very often. It happens maybe 10% of the time. which means 90% of the time when a customer comes in, they want a particular car, we go ahead and get that car. Now, every once in a while, they'll change their mind. It takes too long. People ask me, well, how long does it take to locate that car? Well, in the South, folks, most people don't know that, but just in our area, there's between 25 and 30,000 cars available at the auctions. That's not including AutoTraderCars.com, Craigslist, eBay, because we don't buy on those venues. We want to buy them at a discounted price, at a wholesale price. Mark them up a little bit and make a profit, but still give you a better deal than our competition and a better product. So I've got to scour the whole South and look through all of those 25,000 cars every week to find that car. And we're pretty successful in doing it. I'd say the average turnaround time is about 30 days. That takes us, sometimes I find the car in 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it takes me 60 days. I have one customer right now that's looking for an Infiniti, but they wanted all-wheel drive. They had to have a certain color. They had to have a certain equipment package. And I haven't found it yet. It's going on over 60 days. But I will find that car, and they want to buy from us. That's one of the things about the repeat business that we've got. We did a survey last year. 70% of Frontier Motors customers are repeat or referrals. That's unheard of in the used car industry. And why is that? Because people could care less where they buy a car. If they're looking for a used Honda, they go to wherever they can find a used Honda. They don't care which dealership it is. There's 104 dealers in Pensacola. But we've built such a clientele based on our service and based on the product that we have that people want to buy from us. Don, you're a prime example, right?
I am. I'm on number 6. That's the number of cars, 7 if you count the truck. Mm-hmm. And over the years, over the 19 years or so you've been in business, and I speak in ways that you probably can't. You do what you say you will do. It's not unheard of, but it is a little unusual. You do provide information. Of course you want to make a profit. Of course you're in business. You don't give away cars in spite of what all people say. Hey, Don, I understand you get a free car. It's news to me. I haven't gotten it from Frontier Motors. I get a deal just like you'll get a deal. But the point is that he does what he says he will do, and that's worth it.
Yeah. I remember the old days, Don, when you could change, trade. Remember that they would give the advertiser a car to use, and then you would get free advertising. Well, those days, folks, are over. The IRS stepped in years ago and said, no, that hanky-panky is not going on anymore. So for Don, for all the vehicles he's bought from us, he's actually had to pay for them. So, but the whole thing about it, folks, that we do at Frontier Motors a little bit differently is we make it really easy to buy a car. People don't like buying cars for one reason. It's not because they don't want a new car. They don't like the process. Surveys since I've been in the car business, I got in the car business for 15 years, they've always done surveys. And the number one reason people hate buying cars is the process. And interesting that the process isn't changing. We're trying to change the process, not just at Frontier Motors, which we've done when we opened up. I know the way the wrong process works because I ran a new car dealership for over 20 years. Now I'm almost got the same amount of time in now in the used car industry. Almost going on 20 years. We're going on 20 years this year. In November, we're going on our 20th year. But the process that we used selling those new cars 20 years ago was awful. And the reason I use the process because that's what my boss told me to do. This is how you sell a car. And you have all those things that go on in the back room. And you have all those shenanigans and all those ways that the only thing they worry about is how much money they're going to make on you and what they can do to persuade you to buy a car right then and there. And I always felt uncomfortable doing that. And that's one of the reasons when I had the ability to open up my own place and not work for someone, I did it completely different. I said, why don't we do it like this? Why don't we show the customer the car? Why don't we unlock every car every morning so the customer doesn't have to beg for a key from a salesman, and if you're looking at 10 cars that you have to run back and forth for 10 different keys. I had a customer in last Saturday and heard the show, and he said, you know what, one of the things that I noticed, and he didn't hear me talking about this, is one of the things that I noticed immediately when I came to Frontier Motors is that I tried to open the door on the car, and I was surprised. So we can handle the paperwork for you so you don't have to go to 2 different places. If you want to shop around, we tell you to shop around. Who does that? All the other dealers, what their number one goal is to sell your car right now because they feel that if you walk out, you won't be back. Now, one reason is because it's very competitive out there. But one of the things that I do on my screen is if you're looking for a particular car, within seconds, I can tell you every car out there within a 150-mile radius. I can go out 250 miles. I can go out nationwide. So I know what the competition has. Well, if I know what the competition has, I don't want to embarrass myself by giving you a high price and then bringing that price back down. So what I do is I just give you one price. It's called the fair price. It's a price that I'm going to beat the competition. And if there's one or two that are cheaper than mine, it's because they have more miles on it, they're in worse condition, or they don't have any equipment. So I usually always win. And that's why 70% of our customers last year were repeat and referrals. This thing in the consumer's report still has me shaking my head that the first year depreciation on a car is $9,100. And folks, by the way, some of the services that we offer, if you're going to buy a brand new car and I can't talk you out of it, I can't talk you into one of our cars that might have 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 miles on it. We have the new car cost guides at Frontier Motors. These are the original invoices. If you get a consumer's report, every consumer's report in the back of it says that you can buy an invoice. I've got it right here. This is consumer's report. In the back, it says you can buy an invoice from Consumer's Reports. It costs $14 to buy an invoice. I'll give you one for nothing. I've got all the invoices at Frontier Motors. No charge. The other thing we're going to do for you, if you found a car for sale at one of the small lots and they don't run Carfax history reports or auto check history reports at no charge, you call Frontier Motors with the ID number. I'm going to run the Carfax at no charge, the auto check, which is the second largest provider of history reports, and that also is going to spit out a price. So I can do three things for you. I can tell you if it's got a clean history report, I can give you all the information on both history reports, and I can tell you what I can sell you a car just like that for. And you can use that information to make sure you don't pay too much. If I tell you, hey, that car is a one-owner car, it's absolutely perfect on the Carfax report, I can sell you a car like that for $21,500. I've got one on the lot just like it. Well, if they're asking $23,500, just use that information and tell that dealer or tell the individual, if it's a private, Frontier Motors has got one, they'll sell it to me for $21,500. So if you don't, I'll go buy from them. So that is the information that's going to save you a bunch of money. Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. If you don't know where we're at, we've got a huge Buffalo out front. We've been there going on 20 years now. You can also like us on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We've got a great website. It's frontiermotorsinc.com. Just Google Frontier Motors. We're the first one that pops up. We've got 31 or more detailed photographs. We've got prices of every car on there. You can contact us via email right there, or you can text us, and we'll give you the bottom line price in writing. Any questions about purchasing a car, you call Frontier Motors for free advice. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Can't be beat, don't overpay. Come in today, doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.